Did you know that 90% of podcasts don't even produce more than 3 episodes? When it comes to creating a podcast, it's really easy to get wrapped up in all of those little things and get excited, which is great, but at the end of the day, you might actually be overlooking all of the things that will make or break your show's growth. The truth is, avoiding little podcasting mistakes is crucial when it comes to building and retaining a loyal audience. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Quinn and I'm with The Podcast Consultant, and you are watching episode 16 of Podcast Pro Tips. Today we're going to be talking about the common mistakes that you'll want to keep in mind and avoid when it comes to building your podcast. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Podcast Pro Tips, and without further delay, let's dive in. One of the most common mistakes, if not the most common mistake that podcasters will make, is poor audio quality. Other mistakes you'll want to avoid are going to be having an inconsistent post schedule, not engaging with your audience, having a clear niche, failing to optimize your searchability, and not including a call to action in your episodes. Might be a lot to take in, but we're going to break each of these down so you get a better idea of the stuff you'll want to avoid when it comes to your podcast. As I mentioned, number one, the biggest mistake that podcasters make is not thinking about the quality of their audio. It seems obvious because, well, podcasts are usually in audio format, but here we are. Naturally, this can be fixed by investing in good quality recording gear, as well as hiring a production team to help polish that final product. Think about it. If your audio sounds like it was recorded on a broken phone, no one's going to want to listen to your show.
I can't hear you.
Listeners will tune out fast and probably just turn it off. It's good to invest in high quality gear if you're going to be building your podcast for the long term. Plus, we all love listening to something that sounds just nice. You can pop below into the description where we have a link to a bunch of different microphones and 101s on how to use podcast recording gear just to help you out. The second mistake you'll want to avoid is an inconsistent posting schedule. Create a content calendar and stick to it. Please. One of the best ways to build and retain your audience is to show up when you say you will and also be top of mind by, guess what? Posting frequently. A pretty common pace for a lot of shows we produce at The Podcast Consultant would be at least 1 episode a week. That way the listeners of your show will start to build a rhythm around that day of the week. Every Tuesday morning on their drive to work, they know you have an episode coming out. That's the way that you will build a lifelong audience. In a world of oversaturated content, consistency is key. Another mistake worth avoiding is actually not taking the time to engage with your audience. Think of it this way, you have your show, you post an episode every week, people are commenting or DMing or even emailing you, and it's just crickets. What's that about? It would seem strange that someone who listens to your show every week and either comments or DMs or whatever is trying to build a relationship with you and they're just getting nothing in return. Similar to building a relationship with a client, this is an ongoing two-way street. Take note of who's engaging with you and strike up conversations with them. Another mistake that a lot of new podcasts tend to fall into, or podcasts in general, is not having a defined niche. For example, if I tend to listen to your show because I want financial advice or learn more about the markets, it would be pretty strange if one week you just randomly threw a curveball in there and I'm listening to you talk to a pro wrestler. A great way to figure out a niche and hone in on it is to do some research on who your potential listeners might be. The pro tip here is that we refer to this type of listener as the fan avatar in marketing. Ask the question, who is my ideal listener? Where do they live? What are their interests? What are their pain points? How old are they? You get the idea. Another common mistake that people tend to fall into is that if you don't know your niche, you probably aren't optimized on search engines either. You can improve your search engine ranking by using keywords in your titles and your show notes, but also making sure to stick to your lane. Between Google and YouTube and all of the podcast player apps out there, potential listeners and customers will have a better chance finding you if they can search a particular topic and you pop up. And the last thing I want to mention here is having a clear call to action in your episodes. Listening to your episode is great. You now have my attention. But the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? Do you want me to subscribe to your podcast, to go visit your website? You really do get to decide. Whatever it is, make sure the call to action is clear and also accessible. A pro tip here would be pre-record a few different calls to action ahead of time, and then you can just swap them out as your episodes get released. For example, one call to action might be directing listeners to your website, whereas another call to action might be directing them towards a product or even an event that you're going to be hosting. If you record them all in a batch, you won't burn out, and that'll make this all a lot easier. Here's something that might surprise you. Pretty much every major podcast out there in the world today has had to work through all of these challenges that we've laid out today. If you don't want to be discouraged after your first few episodes, getting through these major humps is going to be key to your future success. We've seen this happen time and time again, and it's not uncommon for a show that will come to us, they have okay audio, their direction is hit or miss, and they're really just trying to figure it out. And after letting us coach, guide, and produce them, not only will they start to see an increase in their engagement, but some of these shows will even go on to build real communities around them. It doesn't have to be perfect out of the gate, and you are absolutely allowed to improve as you go. If anything, it's pretty exciting for listeners when they've been following along for a long time, and they start to see that those checkboxes get crossed out. So let's recap. We've talked about some of the common podcasting mistakes, and also some of the ways that you can avoid them. Invest in gear that will make you sound great, post consistently, understand your audience, your niche, optimize yourself for search engines, and not only that, be sure to have a call to action in your episodes. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being willing to learn and adapt. If you want more hands-on advice or would like to chat with one of us here at the Podcast Consultant, you can book a free discovery call with us in the link below. We would love nothing more than to help you on your podcast journey this year. As always, thanks for watching. What are some of the podcast mistakes that you've encountered on your journey? And what are some of the ways that you overcame them? Let us know in the comments. If you want to learn more about podcasting, don't forget to check out some of our other videos, as there's a ton of great information that will help you as you get behind the microphone this year. That's all from me today. Wishing you all the best and happy recording.